Welcome to Knife Chats. If you like this video, please take a moment to leave a comment. Thank you. I thought I'd give you my first impressions of the Pipe Doctor by Rough Ryder. This is RR1899. It's a new pattern that they just came out with. But before we talk about the knife, I thought I'd show you this on the box. Besides that little pipe logo, if you notice, the name has changed. It's no longer Rough Ryder with an I, it's now Rough Ryder with a Y. Apparently, Rough Ryder, when it first came out, was also with a Y, but most of the knives you find out there will have a tang stamp with a Rough Ryder I. But starting now in 2019, they're going to start showing up with a Rough Ryder with a Y. So that's going to be a change. And it's going to be one way to identify older Rough Ryder knives. So if you're looking for a new Rough Ryder, pretty soon they're all going to be with a Y instead of an I. Okay, on with the knife. So this is one of those newer boxes that you get with the Rough Ryder knives. It's like the old Colt boxes. So you have the magnetic closure with the flap. The knife comes in the plastic bag. I've told you before, remove it from the plastic bag even if you're keeping it in the case, because plastic, it attracts moisture. Gotta also be careful with the liner in this stuff, because that's not always good for your knife either. So I would take and find proper paper and use a paper liner and put your knife between this with like some kind of archival paper if you're going to store it in the box. So what we have with the knife to begin with, it's got tobacco smooth bone handles, which kind of makes sense. I mean, it's a pipe knife, right? So why not tobacco smooth bone? And you got the wonderful little pipe shield on there. And you can see the long match striker shield, match striker pull on the blade here. Brass pins, you can see brass liners. Oh, and if you notice, there's also a black inset or black liner underneath those tobacco bone handles, so that's kind of cool too. You've got your slanted R bolsters on the knife, so you only have the R on the front side bolster, not on the back bolster. Now the back here, this is a doctor's knife. I'll show you another doctor's knife. This one's by Schrade. Now this is usually what you see on a doctor's knife. You have usually a pin blade, a spear point blade or a clip point blade, something of that nature, and then often the second blade is a spatula blade, and that's usually what you find on the two blade doctor knives. There's also a lot of doctor knives out there that have a pin blade for a secondary blade. The only type of doctor knives that I'm really interested in are the ones that have a spatula. And so this is what you usually see in a doctor knife, and the flat bottom here is known as a pill crusher. And you see the pill crusher here on the bottom of the pipe knife, but it's going to be acting as something else with the pipe knife. And the secondary blade on here is a pick, and this is a pick for the stem and the mouthpiece on your pipe. So you know, they have a small hole at the back of the pipe. Well, this one's rather not your typical pipe, but it's the only pipe I have, so you'd use this for cleaning out the hole back there and cleaning out other spots on them. And also the mouthpiece usually comes out, which will shorten up the pipe, so you can also use it to clean out portions of the stem as long as the stem is straight. Now the main blade, the nice thing about it is it does have the half stop. Also, if you notice, the pick also has a half stop. You have a sheepfoot blade on here, and there's a reason for that. Part of it is a sheepfoot blade is a typical blade used for cutting tobacco and stuff, and so this would be good for grabbing your tobacco and cutting it if you need to, and also just by grabbing it and putting it in your pipe. And the other portion of this blade, if you notice, it's the back side of it here. It's got a nice little swedge there, which is really nice. But the blade, the back side of the blade can be used for cleaning and reaming out your pipe, the bowl on your pipe. This one has a very small bowl. I don't even know if it'll fit, but you'd just basically be able to put the blade in there and scrape anything loose on there out. Now, this bowl is very small, not typical of what you'd see in a bowl.
Yes, I know what kind of pipe it is. I won it at work in a white elephant gift exchange, if you can believe it.
In any case, that's what the blade is used for. And then the back side here, the what's called a pill crusher on your doctor's knife would be used as a tamper on a pipe knife. So you would use this to tamp the tobacco down into the bowl of your pipe before you light up the pipe. Now let's take a look at this knife compared to a typical pipe knife or pipe tool. This is what your normal pipe tool will look like. You see the tamper at the back here, and then you also see the blade. Oops. This is the blade. This one is out of Sheffield by Richards. And you notice it also has kind of a sheepfoot blade. In this case, it's more of a coping blade. And one side is sharp and the other side is used, like I said, to scrape the bowl of your pipe. And then you also have a pick. This pick is a little harder to get out. This one's also sharp, so you would, if you wanted the one on the Rough Ryder one to be sharp, you would have to sharpen it yourself. And quite often, that's what the case is. Quite often, these end up getting sharpened by the user. But I believe the ones by Richards came sharp. Lengthwise, the one by Richards is a little longer, but really not that much of a difference. Especially in the size, they're about the same size. This one is not sharp, which is kind of good, because if you notice on the back side here, it's up a little bit. It's prouder than the ones you get on the other pipe tools, which now you may like it or you may not like it, but these are really tricky to get out. They're a whole lot harder to get out than the one on the pipe doctor. You can just easily get that, open it up, and then start using it. And the blade on this is 3 inches long, as opposed to the one you see on this one by Richards. I mean, much shorter. Good, at least about a ½ inch longer and a much longer cutting edge. And the Richards knife is obviously a little bit shorter. This is 3 3/4 inches, and the Richards is about 3½ inches. Let's see here. The Richards is more like about 3 3/8 inch. So the Richards one obviously is also a little smaller for the pocket, but these you're going to have to go online, you're going to have to buy them used. They're very hard to find these days, and they're going to cost you a whole lot more than $15. This pipe doctor is only $15, and it really looks nice, and it's just as functional. And quite frankly, if you notice the tamper, in this case the pill crusher on the bottom, the tamper is actually larger for the pipe doctor than you find on a regular pipe tool. Here's another pipe tool, and you see the tamper is also a little bit bigger. Not much bigger, but a little bit bigger, so it should work out fine. And all in all, compared to other pipe tools that are actually made to be a pipe tool, I see this one just as functional and quite nice looking. So hard to argue with this one. I think it's a really great buy and a really great deal, especially at $15. And it's unique among a doctor's knife, and it's also unique among pipe tools because of the actual design of it. So you've got your tamper in, main blade, and your pick for the other portion of your pipe tools. And it's really got a great looking shield on there too. And that shield is promising to me because if they put that much effort in making designing a special shield just for this knife, I'm hoping that with the popularity of this knife that it comes out in other bone material, because I would love to see this in a white smooth bone, because I'm looking for a pipe doctor in white smooth bone, and I think it just looked terrific in white. Looked terrific in other colors too, but I can see why they started off in the tobacco smooth bones, simply because, hey, it's a pipe knife, and what do you usually smoke in pipes? Well, not in this pipe, but in a regular pipe, normally tobacco. So makes a lot of sense to me. In any case, from what I understand, this knife is selling like hotcakes, and I can see why, because it is just a really elegant looking knife and a very functional knife. And I can see anyone who would be smoking a pipe could definitely use this knife. So if you know somebody out there who smokes a pipe and they're looking for a nice little gift, this is probably the perfect little gift that you can get them. And at $15, it's hard to argue.
Okay, let's briefly recap the specifications of the Pipe Doctor by Rough Ryder. The model number for the knife is RR1899, and it retails currently at $14.99. The model features a sheepfoot blade that has a half stop, as well as a pick for cleaning out your pipe. The blades are 448 stainless steel. The shield is nickel silver, as is the bolsters, and brass liner and frames. The blade length is 3 inches, so 76 millimeters, and the closed length of the knife is 3 3/4 inches, or approximately 95 millimeters. Finally, you will notice that the tang stamp on the knife still says Rough Ryder with an I, even though the brand has changed over to Rough Ryder with a Y. The boxing and all the other material shows up with Rough Ryder Y. So this knife is basically in the transitional period. It was designed back when Rough Ryder was still using the RIDER tang stamp, but the box material and everything else came out with the new Rough Ryder trademark RYDER. So future versions of this knife will probably be with the RYDER, and that will be a way to notice if you've got a first release of the Rough Ryder Pipe Doctor or a second or later release of the Rough Ryder Pipe Doctor. And with that, I will leave you. The Pipe Doctor is a really interesting knife. You're crossing a pipe tool with a doctor's knife and coming out with basically a new style of knife. And it actually does work. It's a good knife for the pipe smoker out there. And it's also an interesting knife if you just like to collect knives. I've got a couple pipe tools and I've got a couple doctor's knives, but this one, it can fall into either of the collections, which is kind of interesting. And that's the main reason I picked it up, because it's not your typical knife. It's not your typical doctor's knife, and it's not your typical pipe tool. So that kind of made it cool. In any case, I'll let you go now, and hope you enjoyed the video, and I'd love to hear your thoughts on the Pipe Doctor, and also if this is something that you see as useful for a pipe tool, or if you just think it's kind of cool because it's a new take on the old doctor's knife. Again, I'm hoping to see more versions of this, but we'll see what happens. Thank you so much for joining us. I hope you enjoyed this episode of Knife Chats, and if you did, please like and share it with your friends. Comments are always welcome. Don't forget to subscribe and ring that notification bell so you'll know when the next episode of Knife Chats is up online. Thanks again. Hope to see you soon.